given below. Which one of the following will fit in the place marked X? 1995. A minister who are not members of parliament but who have to get themselves elected to either House of Parliament within 6 months after assuming office. B. Not more than 20 nominated members. C. Not more than 20 representatives of union territories. D. The Attorney General who has the right to speak and take part in the proceedings of either House of. Question 1. Parliament of India. Council of State. Not more than 250 members 12. Nominated and not more than 238 representatives of states and union territories. House of People. Not more than 530 representatives of states plus not more than 2 nominated Anglo-Indians plus X. Question 1. 1. The Constitution, the Parliament of India consists of 3 parts viz. The President, the Council of States and the House of the People. In 1954, the Hindi names, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha were adopted by the Council of States and the House of People respectively. The Rajya Sabha is the upper house, second chamber or House of Elders, and the Lok Sabha is the lower house, first chamber or popular house. The former represents the states and union territories of the Indian Union, while the latter represents the people of India as a whole. 2. The maximum strength of the Rajya Sabha is fixed at 250, out of which 238 are to be the representatives of the states and union territories, elected indirectly, and 12 are nominated by the President. At present, the Rajya Sabha has 245 members. Of these, 229 members represent the states, 4 members represent the union territories and 12 members are nominated by the President. The 4th schedule of the Constitution deals with the allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha to the states and union territories. 3. The Parliament is the legislative organ of the Union government. It occupies a preeminent and central position in the Indian democratic political system due to adoption of the parliamentary form of government, also known as Westminster Model of Government. Articles 79 to 122 in Part 5 of the Constitution deal with the organization, composition, duration, officers, procedures, privileges, powers and so on of the Parliament. Question 1. 1. Composition of Lok Sabha. The maximum strength of the Lok Sabha is fixed at 552. Out of this, 530 members are to be the representatives of the states, 20 members are to be the representatives of the union territories and 2 members are to be nominated by the President from the Anglo-Indian community. At present, the Lok Sabha has 545 members. Of these, 530 members represent the states, 13 members represent the union territories and 2 Anglo-Indian members are nominated by the President. Question 2. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Which of the following is stated in the Constitution of India? 1. The President shall not be a member of either House of Parliament. 2. The Parliament shall consist of the President and 2 houses. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1997. Neither 1 nor 2. B. Both 1 and 2. C. Only 1. D. Only 2. Answer. B. Question 2. President of India is not a member of either House of Parliament and does not sit in the Parliament to attend its meetings. He is an integral part of the Parliament. This is because a bill passed by both the Houses of Parliament cannot become law without the President's assent. He also performs certain functions relating to the proceedings of the Parliament. For example, he summons and prorogues both the Houses, dissolves the Lok Sabha, addresses both the Houses, issues ordinances when they are not in session, and so on. 1. Question 3. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. For election to the Lok Sabha, a nomination paper can be filed by 2017. Anyone residing in India. B. A resident of the constituency from which the election is to be contested. C. Any citizen of India whose name appears in the electoral roll of a constituency. D. Any citizen of India. Answer. C. Question 3. The Constitution lays down the following qualifications for a person to be chosen a member of the Parliament. He must be a citizen of India. He must make and subscribe to an oath or affirmation before the person authorized by the Election Commission for this purpose. In his oath or affirmation, he swears to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India. He must be not less than 30 years of age in the case of the Rajya Sabha and not less than 25 years of age in the case of the Lok Sabha. He must possess other qualifications prescribed by Parliament. 1. The Parliament has laid down the following additional qualifications in the Representation of People Act 1951. He must be registered as an elector for a parliamentary constituency. This is same in the case of both the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. The requirement that a candidate contesting an election to the Rajya Sabha from a particular state should be an elector in that particular state was dispensed with in 2003. In 2006, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutional validity of this change. He must be a member of a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe in any state or union territory if he wants to contest a seat reserved for them. However, a member of scheduled caste or scheduled tribes can also contest a seat not reserved for them. 2. Question 4. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. The term of the Lok Sabha 2002. Cannot be extended under any circumstances. B. Can be extended by 6 months at a time. C. Can be extended by 1 year at a time during the proclamation of emergency. D. Can be extended for 2 years at a time during the proclamation of emergency. Answer. C. Question 4. The Lok Sabha is not a continuing chamber. Its normal term is 5 years from the date of its first meeting after the general elections, after which it automatically dissolves. However, the President is authorized to dissolve the Lok Sabha at any time even before the completion of 5 years and this cannot be challenged in a court of law. Further, the term of the Lok Sabha can be extended during the period of national emergency via law of Parliament for 1 year at a time for any length of time. However, this extension cannot continue beyond a period of 6 months after the emergency has ceased to operate. 1. The Rajya Sabha, first constituted in 1952, is a continuing chamber, that is, it is a permanent body and not subject to dissolution. However, 1/3 of its members retire every second year. Their seats are filled up by fresh elections and presidential nominations at the beginning of every 3rd year. The retiring members are eligible for re-election and renomination any number of times. The Constitution has not fixed the term of office of members of the Rajya Sabha and left it to the Parliament. Accordingly, the Parliament in the Representation of the People Act 1951 provided that the term of office of a member of the Rajya Sabha shall be 6 years. 2. Question 5. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Regarding the office of the Lok Sabha Speaker, consider the following statements. 2012. 1. She holds the office during the pleasure of the President. 2. She need not be a member of the House at the time of his/her election but has to become a member of the House within 6 months from the date of his/her election. 3. If she intends to resign, the letter of his/her resignation has to be addressed to the Deputy Speaker. Which of the statements given above are correct? A. 1 and 2 only, B. 3 only. C. 1, 2 and 3, D. None. Answer, B. Question 5. The Speaker is elected by the Lok Sabha from amongst its members, as soon as may be, after its first sitting. Whenever the office of the Speaker falls vacant, the Lok Sabha elects another member to fill the vacancy. The date of election of the Speaker is fixed by the President. Usually, the Speaker remains in office during the life of the Lok Sabha. However, he has to vacate his office earlier in any of the following 3 cases. 1. If he ceases to be a member of the Lok Sabha. 2. If he resigns by writing to the Deputy Speaker, and 3. If he is removed by a resolution passed by a majority of all the members of the Lok Sabha. Such a resolution can be moved only after giving 14 days advance notice. 1. Question 5. As the office of the Speaker is vested with great prestige, position and authority, independence and impartiality becomes its sine qua non. The following provisions ensure the independence and impartiality of the office of the Speaker. He is provided with a security of tenure. He can be removed only by a resolution passed by the Lok Sabha by an absolute majority, i.e., a majority of the total members of the House, and not by an ordinary majority, i.e., a majority of the members present and voting in the House. This motion of removal can be considered and discussed only when it has the support of at least 50 members. His salaries and allowances are fixed by Parliament. They are charged on the Consolidated Fund of India and thus are not subject to the annual vote of Parliament. His work and conduct cannot be discussed and criticized in the Lok Sabha except on a substantive motion. His powers of regulating procedure or conducting business or maintaining order in the House are not subject to the jurisdiction of any court. He cannot vote in the first instance. He can only exercise a casting vote in the event of a tie. This makes the position of Speaker impartial. He is given a very high position in the order of precedence. He is placed at 7th rank, along with the Chief Justice of India. This means he has a higher rank than all cabinet ministers except the Prime Minister or Deputy Prime Minister. 1. Thank you and happy learning. UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelim Special. Previous year questions Indian Polity. Parliament Part 2. Question 1. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. The Speaker can ask a member of the House to stop speaking and let another member speak. This phenomenon is known as 2000. A. Decorum. B. Crossing the floor. C. Interpellation. D. Yielding the floor. Answer, D. Question 1. The Speaker can stop a member of Parliament from speaking and let another member speak. This phenomenon is known as yielding the floor. 1. Decorum is content of parliamentary affairs means adhering to basic rule and principles that govern the conduct of debate and business in the House. 2. Crossing the floor means voting against the party line or changing side to another party after being elected to the first party. 3. Interpellation is the process of asking a government executive to explain an act or policy. It sometimes may lead to vote of no confidence or change in government. 4. Question 1. Summoning. The President from time to time summons each House of Parliament to meet. But the maximum gap between 2 sessions of Parliament cannot be more than 6 months. In other words, the Parliament should meet at least twice a year. There are usually 3 sessions in a year, viz. The Budget Session, February to May. The Monsoon Session, July to September, and the Winter Session, November to December. A session of Parliament is the period spanning between the first sitting of a House and its prorogation or dissolution in the case of the Lok Sabha. During a session, the House meets every day to transact business. The period spanning between the prorogation of a House and its reassembly in a new session is called recess. 1. Adjournment. A session of Parliament consists of many meetings. Each meeting of a day consists of 2 sittings, that is, a morning sitting from 11 am to 1 pm and post-lunch sitting from 2 pm to 6 pm. A sitting of Parliament can be terminated by adjournment or adjournment sine die or prorogation or dissolution in the case of the Lok Sabha. An adjournment suspends the work in a sitting for a specified time, which may be hours, days or weeks. 4. Question 1. Prorogation. The presiding officer, Speaker or Chairman declares the House adjourned sine die when the business of a session is completed. Within the next few days, the President issues a notification for prorogation of the session. However, the President can also prorogue the House while in session. 1. Quorum. Quorum is the minimum number of members required to be present in the House before it can transact any business. It is 1/10 of the total number of members in each House including the presiding officer. It means that there must be at least 55 members present in the Lok Sabha and 25 members present in the Rajya Sabha if any business is to be conducted. If there is no quorum during a meeting of the House, it is the duty of the presiding officer either to adjourn the House or to suspend the meeting until there is a quorum. 2. Adjournment sine die. Adjournment sine die means terminating a sitting of Parliament for an indefinite period. In other words, when the House is adjourned without naming a day for reassembly, it is called adjournment sine die. The power of adjournment as well as adjournment sine die lies with the presiding officer of the House. He can also call a sitting of the House before the date or time to which it has been adjourned at any time after the House has been adjourned sine die. 3. Question 2. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Which of the following statements are correct? 2016. 1. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on its prorogation. 2. A bill pending in the Rajya Sabha, which has not been passed by the Lok Sabha, shall not lapse on dissolution of the Lok Sabha. Select the correct answer using the code given below. A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2. Answer, B. Question 2. Rajya Sabha, being a permanent house, is not subject to dissolution. Only the Lok Sabha is subject to dissolution. Unlike a prorogation, a dissolution ends the very life of the existing house, and a new house is constituted after general elections are held. The dissolution of the Lok Sabha may take place in either of 2 ways. Automatic dissolution, that is, on the expiry of its tenure of 5 years or the terms is extended during a national emergency, or whenever the President decides to dissolve the House, which he is authorized to do. Once the Lok Sabha is dissolved before the completion of its normal tenure, the dissolution is irrevocable. 1. When the Lok Sabha is dissolved, all business including bills, motions, resolutions, notices, petitions and so on pending before it or its committees lapse. They, to be pursued further, must be reintroduced in the newly constituted Lok Sabha. 2. Question 2. Some pending bills and all pending assurances that are to be examined by the Committee on Government Assurances do not lapse on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. The position with respect to lapsing of bills is as follows. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses, whether originating in the Lok Sabha or transmitted to it by the Rajya Sabha. A bill passed by the Lok Sabha but pending in the Rajya Sabha lapses. A bill not passed by the two houses due to disagreement and if the President has notified the holding of a joint sitting before the dissolution of Lok Sabha, does not lapse. A bill pending in the Rajya Sabha but not passed by the Lok Sabha does not lapse. A bill passed by both houses but pending assent of the President does not lapse. A bill passed by both houses but returned by the President for reconsideration of houses does not lapse. 1. Question 3. Q. With reference to the Parliament of India, consider the following statements, 2017. 1. A private member's bill is a bill presented by a member of Parliament who is not elected but only nominated by the President of India. 2. Recently, a private member's bill has been passed in the Parliament of India for the first time in its history. Which of the statements given above are correct? A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2. Answer D. Question 3. 1A bill is a proposal for legislation and it becomes an act or law when duly enacted. Bills introduced in the Parliament are of two kinds, public bills and private bills, also known as government bills and private members' bills respectively. Public bill, private bill. It is introduced in the Parliament by a minister. It is introduced by any member of Parliament other than a minister. It reflects of the policies of the government ruling party. It reflects the stand of opposition party on public matter. It has greater chance to be approved by the Parliament. It has lesser chance to be approved by the Parliament. Its rejection by the House amounts to the expression of want of parliamentary confidence in the government and may lead to its resignation. Its rejection by the House has no implication on the parliamentary confidence in the government or its resignation. Its introduction in the House requires 7 days' notice. Its introduction in the House requires 1 month's notice. It is drafted by the concerned department in consultation with the Law Department. Its drafting is the responsibility of the member concerned. Question 4. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. When a bill is referred to a joint sitting of both the houses of the Parliament, it has to be passed. B. 2015. A simple majority of members present and voting. B. 3/4 majority of members present and voting. C. 2/3 majority of the houses. D. Absolute majority of the houses. Answer A. Question 4. There are 2 occasions on which the joint sitting of both the houses of Parliament is convened. Special address by the President at the commencement of the first session after each general election to the House of the People and to commencement of the first session of each year, the President shall address both the houses of Parliament assembled together. For resolving any deadlock over the passage of a bill, Article 108. 1. There are 3 situations which can lead to a deadlock between 2 houses of Parliament. If the bill is rejected by the other house. If the House have finally disagreed as to the amendments to be made in the bill. If more than 6 months have elapsed from the date of receipt of the bill by the other house without the bill being passed by it. In above 3 situations, the President can summon both the houses to meet in a joint sitting for the purpose of deliberating and voting on the bill. The provision of joint sitting are applicable to ordinary bills or financial bills only, not to money bills or constitutional amendment bills. The Speaker of Lok Sabha presides over a joint sitting of the 2 houses and the Deputy Speaker, in his absence. The bill in such sitting is passed by a simple majority, i.e. more than 50% of the members of the Parliament present and voting. 2. Question 5. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. A deadlock between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha calls for joint sitting of the Parliament during the passage of 2012. 1. Ordinary legislation. 2. Money Bill. 3. Constitution Amendment Bill. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. A. 1 only. B. 2 and 3 only. C. 1 and 3 only. D. 1, 2 and 3. Answer A. Question 6. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Who among the following have the right to vote in the election to both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha? 1995. A. Elected members of the lower house of the Parliament. B. Elected members of the upper house of the Parliament. C. Elected members of the upper house of the state legislature. D. Elected members of the lower house of the state legislature. Answer D. Question 6. According to Article 80 of the Indian Constitution, representatives of each state in the Rajya Sabha shall be elected by the elected members of the Legislative Assembly of the state in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of the single transferable vote. The seats are allotted to the states in the Rajya Sabha on the basis of population. 1. The representatives of states in the Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people from the territorial constituencies in the states. The election is based on the principle of universal adult franchise. Every Indian citizen who is above 18 years of age and who is not disqualified under the provisions of the Constitution or any law is eligible to vote at such election. The voting age was reduced from 21 to 18 years by the 61st Constitutional Amendment Act, 1988. 2. Thank you and happy learning. UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelim Special. Previous Year Questions Indian Polity. Parliament Part 3. Question 1. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Consider the following statements, 2013. 1. The chairman and the deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha are not the members of that house. 2. While the nominated members of the 2 houses of the Parliament have no voting right in the presidential election, they have the right to vote in the election of the vice president. Which of the statements given above are correct? A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2. Answer B. Question 1. The presiding officer of the Rajya Sabha is known as the chairman. The Vice President of India is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. During any period when the Vice President acts as President or discharges the functions of the President, he does not perform the duties of the office of the Chairman of Rajya Sabha. The Chairman of the Rajya Sabha can be removed from his office only if he is removed from the office of the Vice President. 1. Unlike the Speaker, who is a member of the House, the Chairman is not a member of the House. But like the Speaker, the Chairman also cannot vote in the first instance. He too can cast a vote in the case of an equality of votes. 2. The deputy chairman is elected by the Rajya Sabha itself from amongst its members. The deputy chairman performs the duties of the chairman's office when it is vacant or when the vice president acts as president or discharges the functions of the president. He also acts as the chairman when the latter is absent from the sitting of the house. In both the cases, he has all the powers of the chairman. It should be emphasized here that the deputy chairman is not subordinate to the chairman. He is directly responsible to the Rajya Sabha. 3. Question 1. The vice president is elected by an electoral college consisting of members of both houses of parliament, in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of the single transferable vote, and the voting in such election is by secret ballot. The electoral college to elect a person to the office of the vice president consists of all members of both houses of parliament. 1. Question 2. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Which of the following special powers have been conferred on the Rajya Sabha by the Constitution of India? 2012. A. To change the existing territory of a state and to change the name of a state. B. To pass a resolution empowering the parliament to make laws in the state list and to create one or more All India services. C. To amend the election procedure of the president and to determine the pension of the president after his/her retirement. D. To determine the functions of the election commission and to determine the number of election commissioners. Answer B. Question 2. Due to its federal character, the Rajya Sabha has been given two exclusive or special powers that are not enjoyed by the Lok Sabha. It can authorize the parliament to make a law on a subject enumerated in the state list, Article 249. It can authorize the parliament to create new All India services common to both the centre and states, Article 312. 1. Question 3. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. The Parliament of India exercises control over the functions of the Council of Ministers through 2017. 1. Adjournment motion. 2. Questions are 3. Supplementary questions. Select the correct answer using the code given below. A. 1 only. B. 2 and 3 only. C. 1 and 3 only. D. 1, 2 and 3. Answer D. Question 3. Question hour. The first hour of every parliamentary sitting is slotted for this. During this time, the members ask questions and the ministers usually give answers. The questions are of three kinds, namely, starred, instarred and short notice. A starred question, distinguished by an asterisk, requires an oral answer and hence supplementary questions can follow. Green. An instarred question, on the other hand, requires a written answer and hence, supplementary questions cannot follow. White. A short notice question is one that is asked by giving a notice of less than 10 days. It is answered orally. Light pink. In addition to the ministers, the questions can also be asked to the private members. Yellow. 1. 0 hour. Unlike the question hour, the 0 hour is not mentioned in the rules of procedure. Thus it is an informal device available to the members of the parliament to raise matters without any prior notice. The 0 hour starts immediately after the question hour and lasts until the agenda for the day, i.e., regular business of the house, is taken up. In other words, the time gap between the question hour and the agenda is known as 0 hour. It is an Indian innovation in the field of parliamentary procedures and has been in existence since 1962. 4. Adjournment motion. It is introduced in the parliament to draw attention of the house to a definite matter of urgent public importance and needs the support of 50 members to be admitted. As it interrupts the normal business of the house, it is regarded as an extraordinary device. It involves an element of censure against the government and hence Rajya Sabha is not permitted to make use of this device. The discussion on an adjournment motion should last for not less than 2 hours and 30 minutes. The right to move a motion for an adjournment of the business of the house is subject to the following restrictions. 1. It should raise a matter which is definite, factual, urgent and of public importance. 2. It should not cover more than one matter. 3. It should be restricted to a specific matter of recent occurrence and should not be framed in general terms. 4. It should not raise a question of privilege. 5. It should not revive discussion on a matter that has been discussed in the same session. 6. It should not deal with any matter that is under adjudication by court. And 7. It should not raise any question that can be raised on a distinct motion. 1. Question 4. Q. In the Parliament of India, the purpose of an adjournment motion is 2012. A. To allow a discussion on a definite matter of urgent public importance. B. To let opposition members collect information from the ministers. C. To allow a reduction of specific amount in demand for grant. D. To postpone the proceedings to check the inappropriate or violent behavior on the part of some members. Answer. A. Question 5. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Which one of the following statements is not correct? 2004. In Lok Sabha, a no-confidence motion has to set out the grounds on which it is based. B. In the case of a no-confidence motion in Lok Sabha, no condition of admissibility have been laid down in the rules. C. A motion of no confidence once admitted, has to be taken up within 10 days of the leave being granted. D. Rajya Sabha is not empowered to entertain a motion of no confidence. Answer. A. Question 5. No confidence motion. Article 75 of the Constitution says that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. It means that the ministry stays in office so long as it enjoys confidence of the majority of the members of the Lok Sabha. In other words, the Lok Sabha can remove the ministry from office by passing a no-confidence motion. The motion needs the support of 50 members to be admitted. 1. Article 118 of the Constitution permits each House of Parliament to make its own rules for conduct of business. Rule 198 of Lok Sabha specifies the procedure for a motion of no confidence. Any member may give a written notice. The Speaker shall read the motion of no confidence in the House and ask all those persons to rise who favour that the motion be taken up. If there are 5 OMEGAPETASECOND in favour, the Speaker allots a date for discussing the motion. A motion of no confidence need not set out on which it is based. Even when grounds are mentioned in the notice and read out in the House, they do not form part of the no confidence motion. 2. Question 5. Censure motion. No confidence motion. It should state the reasons for its adoption in the Lok Sabha. It need not state the reasons for its adoption in the Lok Sabha. It can be moved against an individual minister or a group of ministers or the entire Council of Ministers. It can be moved against the entire Council of Ministers only. It is moved for censuring the Council of Ministers for specific policies and actions. It is moved for ascertaining the confidence of Lok Sabha in the Council of Ministers. If it is passed in the Lok Sabha, the Council of Ministers need not resign from the office. If it is passed in the Lok Sabha, the Council of Ministers must resign from office. Question 6. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Consider the following statements regarding a no-confidence motion in India, 2014. 1. There is no mention of a no-confidence motion in the Constitution of India. 2. A motion of no confidence can be introduced in the Lok Sabha only. Which of the statements given above are correct? A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2. Answer C. Thank you and happy learning. UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelim Special. Previous Year Questions Indian Polity. Parliament Part 4. Question 1. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Which one of the following statements about a money bill is not correct? 2000. A money bill can be tabled in either House of Parliament. B. The Speaker of Lok Sabha is the final authority to decide whether a bill is a money bill or not. C. The Rajya Sabha must return a money bill passed by the Lok Sabha and send it for consideration. Within 14 days. D. The President cannot return a money bill to the Lok Sabha for reconsideration. Answer A. Question 1. Article 110 of the Constitution deals with the definition of money bills. It states that a bill is deemed to be a money bill if it contains only provisions dealing with all or any of the following matters: the imposition, abolition, remission, alteration or regulation of any tax, the regulation of the borrowing of money by the Union Government, the custody of the Consolidated Fund of India or the Contingency Fund of India, the payment of money into or the withdrawal of money from any such fund, the appropriation of money out of the Consolidated Fund of India, declaration of any expenditure charged on the Consolidated Fund of India or increasing the amount of any such expenditure, the receipt of money on account of the Consolidated Fund of India or the public account of India or the custody or issue of such money, or the audit of the accounts of the Union or of a state, or any matter incidental to any of the matters specified above. 1. However, a bill is not to be deemed to be a money bill by reason only that it provides for the imposition of fines or other pecuniary penalties, or the demand or payment of fees for licenses or fees for services rendered, or the imposition, abolition, remission, alteration or regulation of any tax by any local authority or body for local purposes. 2. Question 1. If any question arises whether a bill is a money bill or not, the decision of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha is final. His decision in this regard cannot be questioned in any court of law. 3. A money bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha and the 2 on the recommendation of the President. Every such bill is considered to be a government bill and can be introduced only by a minister. 4. The Rajya Sabha has restricted powers with regard to a money bill. It cannot reject or amend a money bill. It can only make the recommendations. It must return the bill to the Lok Sabha within 14 days, with or without recommendations. The Lok Sabha can either accept or reject all or any of the recommendations of the Rajya Sabha. If the Rajya Sabha does not return the bill to the Lok Sabha within 14 days, the bill is deemed to have been passed by both the houses in the form originally passed by the Lok Sabha. 5. When a money bill is presented to the President, he may either give his assent to the bill or withhold his assent to the bill but cannot return the bill for reconsideration of the houses. Normally, the President gives his assent to a money bill as it is introduced in the Parliament with his prior permission. 6. Question 1. Ordinary bill money bill. It can be introduced either in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. It can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha and not in the Rajya Sabha. It can be introduced either by a minister or by a private member. It can be introduced only by a minister. It is introduced without the recommendation of the President. It can be introduced only on the recommendation of the President. It can be amended or rejected by the Rajya Sabha. It cannot be amended or rejected by the Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha should return the bill with or without recommendations, which may be accepted or rejected by the Lok Sabha. It can be detained by the Rajya Sabha for a maximum period of 6 months. It can be detained by the Rajya Sabha for a maximum period of 14 days only. It does not require the certification of the Speaker when transmitted to the Rajya Sabha if it has originated in the Lok Sabha. It requires the certification of the Speaker when transmitted to the Rajya Sabha. It can be rejected, approved, or returned for reconsideration by the President. It can be rejected or approved but cannot be returned for. Question 2. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. What will follow if a money bill is substantially amended by the Rajya Sabha? 2013. A. The Lok Sabha may still proceed with the bill, accepting or not accepting the recommendations of the Rajya Sabha. B. The Lok Sabha cannot consider the bill further. C. The Lok Sabha may send the bill to the Rajya Sabha for reconsideration. D. The President may call a joint sitting for passing the bill. Answer A. Question 3. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Regarding money bill, which of the following statements is not correct? 2018. A bill shall be deemed to be a money bill if it contains only provisions relating to imposition, abolition, remission, alteration or regulation of any tax. B. A money bill has provisions for the custody of the Consolidated Fund of India or the Contingency Fund of India. C. A money bill is concerned with the appropriation of money out of the Contingency Fund of India. D. A money bill deals with the regulation of borrowing of money or giving of any guarantee by the Government of India. Answer C. Question 4. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. In what way does the Indian Parliament exercise control over the administration? 2001. A. Through parliamentary committees. B. Through consultative committees of various ministries. C. By making the administrators send periodic reports. D. By compelling the executive to issue writs. Answer A. Question 4. The functions of the Parliament are varied, complex and voluminous. Moreover, it has neither the adequate time nor necessary expertise to make a detailed scrutiny of all legislative measures and other matters. Therefore, it is assisted by a number of committees in the discharge of its duties. 1. The Constitution of India makes a mention of these committees at different places, but without making any specific provisions regarding their composition, tenure, functions, etc. All these matters are dealt by the rules of 2 houses. Accordingly, a parliamentary committee means a committee that is appointed or elected by the House or nominated by the Speaker, Chairman. Works under the direction of the Speaker, Chairman. Presents its report to the House or to the Speaker, Chairman. Has a secretariat provided by the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. The consultative committees, which also consist of members of Parliament, are not parliamentary committees as they do not fulfill above 4 conditions. 2. Question 5. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. The Consultative Committee of Members of Parliament for Railway Zones is constituted by the 2002. A President of India. B. Ministry of Railways. C. Ministry of Parliament Affairs. D. Ministry of Transport. Answer. C. Question 5. Consultative committees are attached to various ministries, departments of the central government. They consist of members of both the houses of parliament. The Minister of State in charge of the ministry concerned acts as the chairman of the consultative committee of that ministry. 1. These committees provide a forum for informal discussions between the ministers and the members of parliament on policies and programs of the government and the manner of their implementation. These committees are constituted by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. The guidelines regarding the composition, functions and procedures of these committees are formulated by this ministry. The ministry also makes arrangements for holding their meetings both during the session and the inter-session period of parliament. 2. In addition, separate informal consultative committees of the members of parliament are also constituted for all the railway zones. Members of parliament belonging to the area falling under a particular railway zone are nominated on the informal consultative committee of that railway zone. Unlike the consultative committees attached to various ministries, departments, the meetings of the informal consultative committees are to be arranged during the session periods only. 3. Question 6. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Consider the following statements. 1. The chairman of the Committee on Public Accounts is appointed by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. 2. The Committee on Public Accounts comprises members of Lok Sabha, members of Rajya Sabha and a few eminent persons of industry and trade. Which of these statements given above are correct? 2003. A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2. Answer A. Question 6. Parliamentary committees are of two kinds, standing committees and ad hoc committees. The former are permanent, constituted every year or periodically, and work on a continuous basis, while the latter are temporary and cease to exist on completion of the task assigned to them. 1. Standing committees. On the basis of the nature of functions performed by them, standing committees can be classified into the following 6 categories. Financial committees. A. Public Accounts Committee. B. Estimates Committee. C. Committee on Public Undertakings. 2. This committee was set up first in 1921 under the provisions of the Government of India Act of 1919 and has since been in existence. At present, it consists of 22 members, 15 from the Lok Sabha and 7 from the Rajya Sabha. The members are elected by the parliament every year from amongst its members according to the principle of proportional representation by means of the single transferable vote. Thus, all parties get due representation in it. The term of office of the members is 1 year. 3. Question 6. The chairman of the committee is appointed from amongst its members by the Speaker. Until 1966-67, the chairman of the committee belonged to the ruling party. However, since 1967 a convention has developed whereby the chairman of the committee is selected invariably from the opposition. 4. The function of the committee is to examine the annual audit reports of the Controller and Auditor General of India, CAG, which are laid before the Parliament by the President. The CAG submits 3 audit reports to the President, namely, Audit Report on Appropriation Accounts, Audit Report on Finance Accounts and Audit Report on Public Undertakings. 5. The committee examines public expenditure not only from legal and formal point of view to discover technical irregularities but also from the point of view of economy, prudence, wisdom and propriety to bring out the cases of waste, loss, corruption, extravagance, inefficiency and nugatory expenses. 6. Question 7. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Consider the following statements. The Parliamentary Committee on Public Accounts. 1. Consists of not more than 25 members of the Lok Sabha. 2. Scrutinizes appropriation and finance accounts of the government. 3. Examines the report of the Controller and Auditor General of India. Which of the statements given above are correct? 2013. A. 1 only. B. 2 and 3 only. C. 3 only. D. 1, 2 and 3. Answer B. Question 8. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Which one of the following is the largest committee of the Parliament? 2014. A. The Committee on Public Accounts. B. The Committee on Estimates. C. The Committee on Public Undertakings. D. The Committee on Petitions. Answer B. Question 8. The origin of this committee can be traced to the Standing Financial Committee set up in 1921. The first Estimates Committee in the post-independence era was constituted in 1950 on the recommendation of John Mackay, the then Finance Minister. 1. Originally, it had 25 members but in 1956 its membership was raised to 30. All the 30 members are from Lok Sabha only. The Rajya Sabha has no representation in this committee. These members are elected by the Lok Sabha every year from amongst its own members, according to the principles of proportional representation by means of a single transferable vote. Thus, all parties get due representation in it. The term of office is 1 year. 2. A minister cannot be elected as a member of the committee. The chairman of the committee is appointed by the Speaker from amongst its members and he is invariably from the ruling party. 3. The function of the committee is to examine the estimates included in the budget and suggest economies in public expenditure. Hence, it has been described as a continuous economy committee. In more detail, the functions of the committee are to report what economies, improvements in organization, efficiency and administrative reform consistent with the policy underlying the estimates can be effected. To suggest alternative policies in order to bring about efficiency and economy in administration. To examine whether the money is well laid out within the limits of the policy implied in the estimates to suggest the forth in which the estimates are to be presented to Parliament. 4. Thank you and happy learning. UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelim Special. Previous year questions Indian Polity. Parliament PART 5. Question 1. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. With reference to the Union Government, consider the following statements, 2015. 1. The Department of Revenue is responsible for the preparation of Union Budget that is presented to the Parliament. 2. No amount can be withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund of India without the authorization from the Parliament of India. 3. All the disbursements made from public account also need the authorization from the Parliament of India. Which of the statements given above are correct? A. 1 and 2 only. B. 2 and 3 only. C. 2 only. D. 1, 2 and 3. Answer C. Question 1. Consolidated Fund of India, CFI. All revenues received by the government by way of taxes, whether direct or indirect, and other receipts flowing to the government in connection with the conduct of government business like receipts from railways, post, transport, PSUs, etc., are credited into the CFI. Similarly, all loans raised by the government by issue of public notifications, treasury bills and loans obtained from foreign governments and international institutions are credited into this fund. All expenditure incurred by the government for the conduct of its business, including repayment of internal and external debt and release of loans to state, union territory governments for various purposes, are debited against this fund and no amount can be withdrawn from the fund without the authorization from the Parliament. 1. Public Account of India. All the public money received by the government other than those which are credited to the Consolidated Fund of India are accounted for public account. The receipts into the public account and disbursements out of it are not subject to vote by the Parliament. Receipts under this account mainly flow from the sale of saving certificates, contributions into General Provident Fund, Public Provident Fund, security deposits received by the government. In respect of such deposits, the government is acting as a banker or trustee and refunds the money after the completion of the contract event. 2. Question 1. Contingency Fund of India. This fund is in the nature of an impressed, a fixed fund for specific purpose, account and is kept at the disposal of the President of India, by the Secretary to the Government of India, Ministry of Finance, Department of Economic Affairs, to enable the government to meet unforeseen expenses pending authorization by the Parliament. The money is used to provide immediate relief to victims of natural calamities and also to implement any new policy decision taken by the government pending its approval by the Parliament. In all such cases, after the Parliament meets, a bill is presented indicating the total expenditure to be incurred on the scheme project during the current financial year. After the Parliament votes the bill, the money already spent out of the contingency fund is recouped, withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund of India to ensure the corpus of the contingency fund remains intact. Currently, the corpus is as 500 crore and is enhanced from time to time by the Parliament. 3. The Budget Division of the Department of Economic Affairs and the Ministry of Finance is responsible for the preparation of Union Budget that is presented to the Parliament by the Finance Minister. 4. Question 2. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Which one of the following is responsible for the preparation and presentation of Union Budget to the Parliament? 2010. A. Department of Revenue. B. Department of Economic Affairs. C. Department of Financial Services. D. Department of Expenditure. Answer D. Question 3. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. All revenues received by the Union Government by way of taxes and other receipts for the conduct of government business are credited to the 2011. A. Contingency Fund of India. B. Public Account. C. Consolidated Fund of India. D. Deposits and Advances Fund. Answer C. Question 4. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. The authorization for the withdrawal of funds from the Consolidated Fund of India must come from 2011. A. The President of India. B. The Parliament of India. C. The Prime Minister of India. D. The Union Finance Minister. Answer D. Question 5. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. What is the difference between vote on account and interim budget? 2011. 1. The provision of a vote on account is used by a regular government, while an interim budget is a provision used by a caretaker government. 2. A vote on account only deals with the expenditure in government's budget, while an interim budget includes both expenditure and receipts. Which of the statements given above are correct? A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2. Answer C. Question 5. Budget is an estimate of income and expenditure for a future period of time. It is generally used for government, but it could be of a firm, company, corporation, etc. The word has its origin in the British parliamentary exercise of preparing such statement way back in the mid-18th century from the French word bouillotte, meaning a leather bag out of which the financial statement was brought out and presented in the parliament. Today, this word is used to mean the annual statement in all economies around the world. 1. The estimated receipts and expenditure of the Government of India in respect of each financial year, the 1st of April to the 31st of March, is called the Budget of Government of India. Article 265 of the Constitution provides that no tax shall be levied or collected except by authority of law. As per Article 266, no expenditure can be incurred except with the authorization of the legislature. Government takes the approval of the Parliament for the taxes, receipts through the financial bill and the approval for the expenditures through the appropriation bill. Article 112 specifies that the President shall, in respect of every financial year, cause to be laid before both the houses of the Parliament, the annual financial statement, budget, of estimated receipts of every financial year from the 1st of April to the 31st of March. Annual financial statement contain budget estimate B for the next year 2019-20. Budget and revised estimate 3 for the current free 2018-19 actual figures for the preceding free 2017-18. 2. Question 5. There can be 3 kinds of budget presented by the government. Full budget. It contains the government's estimate for expenditure and receipts for the entire financial year. Interim budget. During an election year, the ruling government may present an interim budget which is a complete set of accounts, including both expenditure and receipts but only for a part of the year. When the new government will be formed, it shall prepare the full budget. There is no such constitutional obligation to prepare an interim budget, it is just an unwritten convention that political parties have developed. Vote on account. Vote on account deals only with the expenditure side of the government's budget. Through vote on account, the government obtains the vote of the Parliament for a sum sufficient to incur expenditure on various items for a part of the year. Normally, the vote on account is taken for 2 months for a sum equivalent to 1/6 of the estimated expenditure for the entire year under various demands for grants. 3. Question 6. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. When the annual union budget is not passed by the Lok Sabha, 2011. The budget is modified and presented again. B. The budget is referred to the Rajya Sabha for suggestions. C. The Union Finance Minister is asked to resign. D. The Prime Minister submits the resignation of Council of Ministers. Answer D. Question 7. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. With reference to Indian Parliament, which one of the following is not correct? 2004. A. The appropriation bill must be passed by both the houses of Parliament before it can be enacted into law. B. No money shall be withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund of India except under the appropriation made by the Appropriation Act. C. Finance bill is required for proposing new taxes but no other bill, act is required for Making changes in the rates of taxes which are already under operation. D. No money bill can be introduced except on the recommendation of the President. Answer A. Question 7. The Constitution states that no money shall be withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund of India except under appropriation made by law. Accordingly, an appropriation bill is introduced to provide for the appropriation, out of the Consolidated Fund of India, all money required to meet the grants voted by the Lok Sabha, the expenditure charged on the Consolidated Fund of India. No such amendment can be proposed to the appropriation bill in either house of the Parliament that will have the effect of varying the amount or altering the destination of any grant voted, or of varying the amount of any expenditure charged on the Consolidated Fund of India. 1. The appropriation bill becomes the Appropriation Act after it is assented to by the President. This act authorizes or legalizes the payments from the Consolidated Fund of India. This means that the government cannot withdraw money from the Consolidated Fund of India till the enactment of the appropriation bill. 2. Question 8. UPSC Indian Polity Parliament. Q. Which of the following are the methods of parliamentary control over public finance in India? 2012. 1. Placing the annual financial statement before the Parliament. 2. Withdrawal of monies from Consolidated Fund of India only after passing the appropriation bill. 3. Provisions of supplementary grants and vote on account. 4. A periodic or at least a mid-year review of program of the government against macroeconomic forecasts and expenditure by a parliamentary budget office. 5. Introducing finance bill in the Parliament. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. 1, 2, 3 and 5 only. B. 1, 2 and 4 only. C. 3, 4 and 5 only. D. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Answer A. Question 8. 1. Budget. Presentation. General discussion house. Adjourned discussion on demand for grants. Appropriation. Bill. Finance bill. The budget is presented in the Parliament on the first working day of February at 11 am. The general budget is presented in Lok Sabha by the Finance Minister and she makes a speech introducing the budget, and after the speech it is presented in the Rajya Sabha. No discussion on budget takes place on the day it is presented to the House. The main budget documents presented to Parliament comprise, besides the Finance Minister budget speech, of the following: Annual Financial Statement, Demand for Grants, Appropriation Bill, Finance Bill. The general discussion on the budget is held on a day subsequent to the presentation of the budget by the Finance Minister. Discussion at this stage is confined to the general examination of the budget and policies of taxation expressed during the budget speech. General discussion on the budget happens in both the houses of the Parliament. Thank you and happy learning. UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelim Special. Previous year questions. Indian Polity. Amendment of the Constitution. Q. Which of the following are matters on which a constitutional amendment is possible only with the ratification of the legislatures of not less than one half of the states? 1995. 1. Election of the President. 2. Representation of the states in Parliament. 3. Any of the lists in the 7th schedule. 4. Abolition of the Legislative Council of a state. 1, 2 and 3. B. 1, 2 and 4. C. 1, 3 and 4. D. 2, 3 and 4. Answer A. Question 1. UPSC INDIAN Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Question 1. Like any other written constitution, the Constitution of India also provides for its amendment in order to adjust itself to the changing conditions and needs. However, the procedure laid down for its amendment is neither as easy as in Britain nor as difficult as in USA. In other words, the Indian Constitution is neither flexible nor rigid but a synthesis of both. Article 368 in Part 20 of the Constitution deals with the powers of Parliament to amend the Constitution and its procedure. It states that the Parliament may, in exercise of its constituent power, amend by way of addition, variation or repeal any provision of the Constitution in accordance with the procedure laid down for the purpose. However, the Parliament cannot amend those provisions which form the basic structure of the Constitution. This was ruled by the Supreme Court in the Kesavananda Bharati case 1973. 1. Question 1. The procedure for the amendment of the Constitution is laid down in Article 368 is as follows. An amendment of the Constitution can be initiated only by the introduction of a bill for the purpose in either House of Parliament and not in the state legislatures. The bill can be introduced either by a minister or by a private member and does not require prior permission of the President. The bill must be passed in each house by a special majority, that is, a majority, that is, more than 50% of the total membership of the House and a majority of 2/3 of the members of the House present and voting. Each house must pass the bill separately. In case of a disagreement between the two houses, there is no provision for holding a joint sitting of the two houses for the purpose of deliberation and passage of the bill. If the bill seeks to amend the federal provisions of the Constitution, it must also be ratified by the legislatures of half of the states by a simple majority, that is, a majority of the members of the House present and voting. After duly passed by both the houses of Parliament and ratified by the state legislatures, where necessary, the bill is presented to the President for assent. The President must give his assent to the bill. He can neither withhold his assent to the bill nor return the bill for reconsideration of the Parliament. After the President's assent, the bill becomes an Act, i.e., a Constitutional Amendment Act, and the Constitution stands amended in accordance with the terms of the Act. 2. Question 1. Article 368 provides for two types of amendments, that is, by a special majority of Parliament and also through the ratification of half of the states by a simple majority. But some other articles provide for the amendment of certain provisions of the Constitution by a simple majority of Parliament, that is, a majority of the members of each House present and voting, similar to the ordinary legislative process. Notably, these amendments are not deemed to be amendments of the Constitution for the purposes of Article 368. Therefore, the Constitution can be amended in three ways. Amendment by simple majority of the Parliament. Amendment by special majority of the Parliament, and amendment by special majority of the Parliament and the ratification of half of the state legislatures. 3. Question 1. Those provisions of the Constitution which are related to the federal structure of the polity can be amended by a special majority of the Parliament and also with the consent of half of the state legislatures by a simple majority. If one or some or all the remaining states take no action on the bill, it does not matter. The moment half of the states give their consent, the formality is completed. There is no time limit within which the states should give their consent to the bill. The following provisions can be amended in this way. Election of the President and its manner. Extent of the executive power of the Union and the states. Supreme Court and High Courts. Distribution of legislative powers between the Union and the states. Any of the lists in the 7th schedule. Representation of states in Parliament. Power of Parliament to amend the Constitution and its procedure. Article 368 itself. 3. Q. Consider the following statements. 1997. Assertion A. The reservation of 33% of seats for women in Parliament and state legislature does not require constitutional amendment. Reason R. Political parties contesting elections can allocate 33% of seats they contest to women candidates without any constitutional amendment. In the context of the above two statements, which one of the following is correct? Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. B. Both A and R are true but R is not the correct explanation of A. C. A is true but R is false. D. A is false but R is true. Answer. D. Question 2. UPSC INDIA Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Q. Consider the following statements. 1. An amendment to the Constitution of India can be initiated by an introduction of a bill in the Lok Sabha only. 2. If such an amendment seeks to make changes in the federal character of the Constitution, the amendment also requires to be ratified by the legislature of all the states of India. Which of the statements given above are correct? 2003. A. Only 1. B. Only 2. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2. Answer. D. Question 3. UPSC INDIA Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Q. If a new state of the Indian Union is to be created, which one of the following schedules of Constitution must be amended? 2001. A. First. B. Second. C. Third. D. Fifth. Answer. A. Question 4. UPSC INDIA Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Q. Which one of the following amendments to the Indian Constitution empowers the President to send back any matter for reconsideration by the Council of Ministers? 2002. A. 39th. B. 40th. C. 42nd. D. 44th. Answer. D. Question 5. UPSC INDIA Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Q. Which of the following constitutional amendments are related to raising the number of members of Lok Sabha to be elected from the states? 2003. A. 6th and 22nd. B. 13th and 38th. C. 7th and 31st. D. 11th and 42nd. Answer. C. Question 6. UPSC INDIA Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Q. The Constitution 88th Amendment Act is related to 2005. A. Empowering the centre to levy and appropriate service tax. B. The Constitution of the National Judicial Commission. C. Readjustment of electoral constituencies on basis of the population census 2001. D. The demarcation of new boundaries between states. Answer. A. Question 7. UPSC INDIA Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Q. What does the 104th Constitutional Amendment Bill related to? 2006. A. Abolition of legislative councils in certain states. B. Introduction of dual citizenship for person of Indian origin living outside India. C. Providing quota to socially and educationally backward classes in private educational institutions. D. Providing quota for religious minorities in the services under the central government. Answer. C. Question 8. UPSC INDIA Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Q. Which of the following Constitution Amendment Act seeks that the size of the councils of ministers at the centre and in a state must not exceed 15% of the total number of members in the Lok Sabha and the total number of members of the Legislative Assembly of that state, respectively? 2007. A. 91st. B. 93rd. C. 95th. D. 97th. Answer. A. Question 9. UPSC INDIA Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Q. Which of the following constitution amendments state that the total number of ministers, including the Prime Minister in the Council of Ministers, shall not exceed 15% of the total number of members of the House of the People? 2009. A. 90th. B. 91st. C. 92nd. D. 93rd. Answer. B. Question 10. UPSC INDIA Polity Amendment of the Constitution. Question 11. Q. Match list I with list 2 and select the correct answer using the codes given below the lists. 2001. List I list 2. A. Constitution, 69th Amendment Act, 1991 1. Establishment of state-level rent tribunals. BTHE Constitution, 75th Amendment Act, 1994 2. No reservations for scheduled castes in panchayats in Arunachal Pradesh. CTHE Constitution, 80th Amendment Act, 2003. Constitution of panchayats in villages or at other local level. DTHE Constitution, 83rd Amendment Act, 2004. Accepting the recommendations of 10th Finance Commission 5. According the status territory to Delhi. Codes. A, B, C, D. 5142, B, 1534, C, 5134, D, 1542. Thank you and happy learning. UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelim Special. Previous year questions. Indian polity. System of government. Topic-wise analysis of last 25 years polity questions. Chapter number of. Question asked from 1995 to 2018. Historical background of Indian Constitution. 5. Salient features of the constitutions. 6. Preamble 4 Fundamental Rights 21. DPSP 18 Fundamental Duties 8. Parliament 37 Emergency Provisions 2. Amendments to Constitution and Political System. Chapter number of question asked from 1995 to 2018. System of government. 12. Center-state relation. 5. Union government. 21 Ministries and departments. 6. State government. 18. Judiciary. 19 Constitutional bodies. 11. Non-constitutional bodies. 4. Governance and administration. Chapter number of question asked from 1995 to 2018. Local government. 15 Scheduled tribal areas. 4. Public policy. 15. Planning. 4 Legal rights. 14 Miscellaneous. GK 28 Panchayati Raj and public policy. Q. The main advantage of the parliamentary form of governance is that 2017. The executive and legislature work independently. B. It provides continuity of policy and is more efficient. C. The executive remains responsible to the legislature. D. The head of the government cannot be changed without election. Answer C. Question 1. UPSC Indian POLITY of Government. Question 1. The Constitution of India provides for a parliamentary form of government, both at the centre and in the states. Articles 74 and 75 deal with the parliamentary system at the centre and Articles 163 and 164 in the states. 1. Modern democratic governments are classified into parliamentary and presidential on the basis of nature of relations between the executive and the legislative organs of the government. The parliamentary system of government is the one in which the executive is responsible to the legislature for its policies and acts. The presidential system of government, on the other hand, is one in which the executive is not responsible to the legislature for its policies and acts, and is constitutionally independent of the legislature in respect of its term of office. 2. The parliamentary government is also known as cabinet government, a responsible government or Westminster model of government, and is prevalent in Britain, Japan, Canada, India among others. The presidential government, on the other hand, is also known as non-responsible or non-parliamentary, a fixed executive system of government, and is prevalent in USA, Brazil, Russia, Sri Lanka among others. 3. Question 1. The features or principles of parliamentary government in India are nominal and real executives. The president is the nominal executive, de jure executive or titular executive, while the prime minister is the real executive, de facto executive. Thus, the president is head of the state, while the prime minister is head of the government. Article 74 provides for a council of ministers headed by the prime minister to aid and advise the president in the exercise of his functions. The advice so tendered is binding on the president. 4. Majority party rule. The political party which secures majority seats in the Lok Sabha forms the government. The leader of that party is appointed as the prime minister by the president. Other ministers are appointed by the president on the advice of the prime minister. However, when no single party gets the majority, a coalition of parties may be invited by the president to form the government. 5. Collective responsibility. This is the bedrock principle of parliamentary government. The ministers are collectively responsible to the parliament in general and to the Lok Sabha in particular. Article 75. They act as a team and swim and sing together. The principle of collective responsibility implies that the Lok Sabha can remove the ministry, i.e., council of ministers headed by the prime minister, from office by passing a vote of no confidence. 6. Question 1. Political homogeneity. Usually members of the council of ministers belong to the same political party, and hence they share the same political ideology. In case of coalition government, the ministers are bound by consensus. 7. Double membership. The ministers are members of both the legislature and the executive. This means that a person cannot be a minister without being a member of the parliament. The constitution stipulates that a minister who is not a member of the parliament for a period of 6 consecutive months ceases to be a minister. 8. Leadership of the prime minister. The prime minister plays the leadership role in the system of government. He is the leader of council of ministers, leader of the parliament and leader of the party in power. In these capacities, he plays a significant and highly crucial role in the functioning of the government. 9. Dissolution of the lower house. The lower house of the parliament, Lok Sabha, can be dissolved by the president on recommendation of the prime minister. In other words, the prime minister can advise the president to dissolve the Lok Sabha before the expiry of its term and hold fresh elections. This means that the executive enjoys the right to get the legislature dissolved in a parliamentary system. 10. Secrecy. The ministers operate on the principle of secrecy of procedure and cannot divulge information about their proceedings, policies and decisions. They take the oath of secrecy before entering their office. The oath of secrecy to the ministers is administered by the president. 11. Q. Out of the following statements, choose the one that brings out the principle in the Lean cabinet form of government 2017. A. An arrangement for minimizing the criticism against the government whose responsibilities are complex and hard to carry out the satisfaction of all. B. A mechanism for speeding up the activities of the government whose responsibilities are increasing day by day. C. A mechanism of parliamentary democracy for ensuring collective responsibility of the government to the people. D. A device for strengthening the hands of the head of the government whose hold over the people is in a state of decline. Answer C. Question 2. UPSC Indian POLITY of Government. Q. There is a parliamentary system of government in India because the 2015 Lok Sabha is elected directly by the people. B. Parliament can amend the constitution. C. Rajya Sabha cannot be dissolved. D. Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. Answer D. Question 3. UPSC Indian POLITY of Government. Question 4. Q. In the context of India, which of the following principles is implied institutionally in the parliamentary government? 2013. 1. Members of the cabinet are members of the parliament. 2. Ministers hold the office till they enjoy confidence in the parliament. 3. Cabinet is headed by the head of the state. Select 1 and 2 only. B. 3 only. C. 2 and 3 only. D. 1, 2 and 3. Answer A. Question 4. Parliamentary system, presidential system. Dual executive. Majority party rule. Collective responsibility. Political homogeneity. Double membership. Leadership of prime minister. Dissolution of lower house. Fusion of powers. Single executive. President and legislators elected separately for a fixed term. Non-responsibility. Political homogeneity may not exist. Single membership. Domination of president. No dissolution of lower house. Separation of powers. Merits. Harmony between legislature and executive. Responsible government. Prevents despotism. Wide representation. Demerits. Conflict between legislature and executive. Non-responsible government. May lead to autocracy. Narrow representation. Demerits. 1. Unstable government. 2. No continuity of policies. Merits. 1. Stable government. 2. Definiteness in policies. Consider the following statements. A constitutional government is one which 2014. 1. Places effective restrictions on individual liberty in the interest of state authority. 2. Places effective restrictions on the authority of the state in the interest of individual liberty. Which of the statements given above are correct? A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both 1 and 2. D. Neither 1 nor 2. Answer B. Question 5. UPSC Indian POLITY of. Government. Question 5. Constitutional government, non-constitutional government. A constitutional government is that government which is elected by public of the country through an election process. Non-constitutional is a perfect type of monarchic, autocratic or dictatorial government. Head of the state has limited powers, i.e. power and authorities provided by constitution, which will be limited. Ruler of the country has unlimited powers and authorities and he is not answerable to anyone. It has specific tenure or limit to rule and it is compulsory to be re-elected again for another term. There is no ruling limit in case of non-constitutional government. It can remain in power as it wants. United States, Austria, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, etc. are examples of constitutional government. Brunei, Qatar, Swaziland and Vatican City are examples of non-constitutional government or absolute monarchical government. Q. Democracy's superior virtue lies in the fact that it calls into activity 2017. A. The intelligence and character of ordinary men and women. B. The methods for strengthening executive leadership. C. A superior individual with dynamism and vision. D. A band on dedicated party workers. Answer A. Question 6. UPSC Indian POLITY of. Government. Question 6. A democracy is superior because it allows a right to every adult citizen without any educational and wealth criterion. Democracy is a system of government in which the citizens exercise power directly or elect representatives from among themselves to form a governing body, such as a parliament. Other features of democracy. Popular sovereignty. Political freedom and equality. Protection of minority rights, independence of judiciary. 7. Thank you and happy learning. UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelim Special. Previous year questions Indian polity. Center-state relations. Question 1. UPSC Indian polity center-state relations. Q. The Parliament of India acquires the power to legislate on any item in the state list in the national interest if a resolution to that effect is passed by the 2016. A. Lok Sabha by a simple majority of its total membership. B. Lok Sabha by a majority of not less than 2/3 of its total membership. C. Rajya Sabha by a simple majority of its total membership. D. Rajya Sabha by a majority of not less than 2/3 of its members present and voting. Answer D. Question 1. Articles 245 to 255 in Part 11 of the Constitution deal with the legislative relations between the centre and the states. Indian Constitution divides the legislative powers between the centre and the states with respect to both the territory and the subjects of legislation. 1. The Parliament can make laws for the whole or any part of the territory of India. The territory of India includes the states, the union territories, and any other area for the time being included in the territory of India. A state legislature can make laws for the whole or any part of the state. The laws made by a state legislature are not applicable outside the state, except when there is a sufficient nexus between the state and the object. The Parliament alone can make extraterritorial legislation. Thus, the laws of the Parliament are also applicable to the Indian citizens and their property in any part of the world. 2. The Constitution provides for a threefold distribution of legislative subjects between the centre and the states, viz. List I, the Union List, List 2, the State List, and List 3, the Concurrent List, in the 7th Schedule. The Parliament has exclusive powers to make laws with respect to any of the matters enumerated in the Union List. The State Legislature has, in normal circumstances, exclusive powers to make laws with respect to any of the matters enumerated in the State List. Both, the Parliament and State Legislature can make laws with respect to any of the matters enumerated in the Concurrent List. The power to make laws with respect to residuary subjects, i.e., the matters which are not enumerated in any of the three lists, is vested in the Parliament. 3. Question 1. The Constitution expressly secured the predominance of the Union List over the State List and the Concurrent List and that of the Concurrent List over the State List. Thus, in case of overlapping between the Union List and the State List, the former should prevail. In case of overlapping between the Union List and the Concurrent List, it is again the former which should prevail. Where there is a conflict between the Concurrent List and the State List, it is the former that should prevail. In case of a conflict between the central law and the state law on a subject enumerated in the Concurrent List, the central law prevails over the state law. 4. Constitution empowers the Parliament to make laws on any matter enumerated in the State List under the following 5 extraordinary circumstances. When Rajya Sabha passes a resolution, if the Rajya Sabha declares that it is necessary in the national interest that Parliament should make laws on a matter in the State List, then the Parliament becomes competent to make laws on that matter. Such a resolution must be supported by 2/3 of the members present and voting. The resolution remains in force for 1 year. It can be renewed any number of times but not exceeding 1 year at a time. The law ceases to have effect on the expiration of 6 months after the resolution has ceased to be in force. This provision does not restrict the power of a state legislature to make laws on the same matter. But, in case of inconsistency between a state law and a parliamentary law, the latter is to prevail. 5. Question 1. During a national emergency, the Parliament acquires the power to legislate with respect to matters in the State List, while a proclamation of national emergency is in operation. The laws become inoperative on the expiration of 6 months after the emergency has ceased to operate. Here also, the power of a state legislature to make laws on the same matter is not restricted. But, in case of repugnancy between a state law and a parliamentary law, the latter is to prevail. 6. When states make a request, when the legislatures of 2 or more states pass resolutions requesting the Parliament to enact laws on a matter in the State List, then the Parliament can make laws for regulating that matter. A law so enacted applies only to those states which have passed the resolutions. However, any other state may adopt it afterwards by passing a resolution to that effect in its legislature. Such a law can be amended or repealed only by the Parliament and not by the legislatures of the concerned states. 7. To implement international agreements, Article 253, the Parliament can make laws on any matter in the State List for implementing the international treaties, agreements or conventions. This provision enables the central government to fulfill its international obligations and commitments. Some examples of laws enacted under the above provision are United Nations Privileges and Immunities Act, 1947, Geneva Convention Act, 1960, Anti-Hijacking Act, 1982 and legislations relating to environment and TRIPS. 8. During President's rule, when the President's rule is imposed in a state, the Parliament becomes empowered to make laws with respect to any matter in the state list in relation to that state. A law made so by the Parliament continues to be operative even after the President's rule. 9. Question 2. UPSC Indian Polity Center-State Relations. Q. The Parliament can make any law for whole or any part of India for implementing international treaties, 2013. A. With the consent of all the states, B. With the consent of the majority of states, C. With the consent of the states concerned, D. Without the consent of any state, answer, D. Question 3. UPSC Indian Polity Center-State Relations. Q. Which of the following are not necessarily the consequences of the proclamation of the precedence rule in a state? 1. Dissolution of the State Legislative Assembly. 2. Removal of the Council of Ministers in the state. 3. Dissolution of the local bodies. Select the correct answer using the code given below. A. 1 and 2 only, B. 1 and 3 only, C. 2 and 3 only, D. 1, 2 and 3, answer, B. Question 3. National Emergency, Article 352, President's Rule, Article 356. It can be proclaimed only when the security of India or a part of it is threatened by war, external aggression or armed rebellion. It can be proclaimed when the government of a state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution due to reasons which may not have any connection with war, external aggression or armed rebellion. During its operation, the state executive and legislature continue to function and exercise the powers assigned to them under the Constitution. Its effect is that the centre gets concurrent powers of administration and legislation in the state. During its operation, the state executive is dismissed and the state legislature is either suspended or dissolved. The president administers the state through the governor and the parliament makes laws for the state. In brief, the executive and legislative powers of the state are assumed by the centre. Under this, the parliament can make laws on the subjects enumerated in the state list only by itself, that is, it cannot delegate the same to any other body or authority. Under this, the parliament can delegate the power to make laws for the state to the president or to any other authority specified by him. So far, the practice has been for the president to make laws for the state in consultation with the members of parliament from that state. Such laws are known as President's Acts. Question 4. Q. Which one of the following articles of the Indian Constitution provides that it shall the duty of the Union to protect every state against external aggression and internal disturbance? 2003. Article 215, B. Article 275, C. Article 325, D. Article 355, answer, D. Question 4. According to Article 355, it shall be duty of the Union to protect states against external aggression and internal disturbance. It shall also be the duty of the Union to ensure that the government of every state is carried on in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. Article 365 says that whenever a state fails to comply with or to give effect to any direction from the centre, it will be lawful for the President to hold that a situation has arisen in which the government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. 1. Thank you and happy learning. UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelim Special. Previous Year Questions Indian Polity. Constitutional Bodies Part 1. Question 1. UPSC Indian Polity Constitutional Bodies. Q. Consider the following statements. 1. The Election Commission of India is a 5-member body. 2. Union Ministry of Home Affairs decides the election schedule for the conduct of both general elections and by-elections. 3. Election Commission resolves the disputes relating to splits, mergers of recognized political parties. Which of the statements given above are correct? 2017. A. 1 and 2 only, B. 2 only. C. 2 and 3 only, D. 3 only. Answer, D. Question 1. The Election Commission is a permanent and an independent body established by the Constitution of India directly to ensure free and fair elections in the country. Article 324 of the Constitution provides that the power of superintendence, direction and control of elections to Parliament, state legislatures, the office of President of India and the office of Vice President of India shall be vested in the Election Commission. 1. Election Commission is an all-India body in the sense that it is common to both the central government and the state governments. It must be noted here that the Election Commission is not concerned with the elections to panchayats and municipalities in the states. For this, the Constitution of India provides for a separate state election commission. 2. Article 324 of the Constitution has made the following provisions with regard to the composition of Election Commission. 1. The Election Commission shall consist of the Chief Election Commissioner and such number of other election commissioners, if any, as the President may from time to time fix. 2. The appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners shall be made by the President. 3. When any other election commissioner is so appointed, the Chief Election Commissioner shall act as the Chairman of the Election Commission. 4. The President may also appoint after consultation with the Election Commission such regional commissioners as he may consider necessary to assist the Election Commission. 3. Question 1. Since its inception in 1950 until the 15th of October 1989, the Election Commission functioned as a single-member body consisting of the Chief Election Commissioner. On the 16th of October 1989, the President appointed 2 more election commissioners to cope with the increased work of the Election Commission on account of lowering of the voting age from 21 to 18 years. Election Commission functioned as a multi-member body consisting of 3 election commissioners. However, the 2 posts of election commissioners were abolished in January 1990 and the Election Commission was reverted to the earlier position. Again in October 1993, the President appointed 2 more election commissioners. Since then until today, the Election Commission has been functioning as a multi-member body consisting of 3 election commissioners. 4. The Chief Election Commissioner and the 2 other election commissioners have equal powers and receive equal salary, allowances and other perquisites, which are similar to those of the Judge of the Supreme Court. In case of difference of opinion amongst the Chief Election Commissioner and or 2 other election commissioners, the matter is decided by the Commission by majority. They hold office for a term of 6 years or until they attain the age of 65 years, whichever is earlier. They can resign at any time or can also be removed before the expiry of their term. 5. Question 1. Article 324 of the Constitution has made the following provisions to safeguard and ensure the independent and impartial functioning of the Election Commission. The Chief Election Commissioner is provided with the security of tenure. He cannot be removed from his office except in same manner and on the same grounds as a Judge of the Supreme Court. In other words, he can be removed by the President on the basis of a resolution passed to that effect by both the Houses of Parliament with special majority, either on the ground of proved misbehavior or incapacity. Thus, he does not hold his office till the pleasure of the President, though he is appointed by him. The service conditions of the Chief Election Commissioner cannot be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. Any other election commissioner or a regional commissioner cannot be removed from office except on the recommendation of the Chief Election Commissioner. 6. Question 1. The powers and functions of the Election Commission. 1. To determine the territorial areas of the electoral constituencies throughout the country on the basis of the Delimitation Commission Act of Parliament. 2. To prepare and periodically revise electoral rolls and to register all eligible voters. 3. To notify the dates and schedules of elections and to scrutinize nomination papers. 4. To grant recognition to political parties and allot election symbols to them. 5. To act as a court for settling disputes related to granting of recognition to political parties and allotment of election symbols to them. 6. To appoint officers for inquiring into disputes relating to electoral arrangements. 7. To determine the code of conduct to be observed by the parties and the candidates at the time of elections. 8. To prepare a roster for publicity of the policies of the political parties on radio and TV in times of elections. 9. To advise the President on matters relating to the disqualifications of the members of Parliament. 10. To advise the Governor on matters relating to the disqualifications of the members of state legislature. 11. To cancel polls in the event of rigging, booth capturing, violence and other irregularities. 12. To request the President or the Governor for requisitioning the staff necessary for conducting elections. 13. To supervise the machinery of elections throughout the country to ensure free and fair elections. 14. To advise the President whether elections can be held in a state under President's rule in order to extend the period of emergency after 1 year. 15. To register political parties for the purpose of elections and grant them the status of national or state parties on the. 7. Question 2. Q. Which one of the following is correct in respect of the commencement of the election process in India? 1995. A. The recommendation for election is made by the government and the notification for election is issued by the Election Commission. B. The recommendation for election is made by the Election Commission and the notification for election is issued by the Home Ministry at the Centre and Home Departments in the states. C. The recommendation for election is made by the Election Commission and the notification for election is issued by the President and Governors of the states concerned. D. Both the exercises of making a recommendation for election and that of issuing a notification in respect of it are done by Election Commission. Answer. A. Question 3. Q. Consider the following statements with reference to India, 2002. 1. The Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners enjoy equal powers but receive unequal salaries. 2. The Chief Election Commissioner is entitled to the same salary as is provided to a judge of the Supreme Court. 3. The Chief Election Commissioner shall not be removed from his office except in like manner and on like grounds as a judge of the Supreme Court. 4. The term of office of the Election Commissioner is 5 years from the date he assumes his office or till the day he attains the age of 62 years, whichever is earlier. Which of these statements are correct? A. 1 and 2 B, 2 and 3 C, 1 and 4 D, 2 and 4 answer B. Question 4. Q. Which one among the following commission was set up in pursuance of a definite provision under an article of the Constitution of India? 2006. A. University Grants Commission. B. National Human Rights Commission. C. Election Commission. D. Central Vigilance Commission. Answer. C. Question 5. Q. Consider the following functions. 1. Superintendence, direction and conduct of free and fair elections. 2. Preparation of electoral rolls for all elections to the Parliament, state legislatures and the office of the President and the Vice President. 3. Giving recognition to political parties and allotting election symbols to political parties and individuals contesting the election. 4. Proclamation of final verdict in the case of election disputes. Which of the above are the functions of the Election Commission of India? 2004. A. Only 1, 2 and 3 B, only 2, 3 and 4 C, only 1 and 3 D, only 1, 2 and 4 answer A. Thank you and happy learning. UPSC Civil Services Examination. Prelim Special. Previous year questions Indian polity. Constitutional bodies Part 2. Question 1. Q. With reference to the Finance Commission of India, which of the following statements is correct? 2010. A. It encourages the inflow of foreign capital for infrastructure development. B. It facilitates the proper distribution of finances among the public sector and the takings. C. It ensures transparency in financial administration. D. None of the statements A, B, and C given above is correct in this context. Answer D. Question 1. Article 280 of the Constitution of India provides for Finance Commission as a quasi-judicial body. It is constituted by the President of India every 5th year or at such earlier time as he considers necessary. 1. The Finance Commission consists of a chairman and 4 other members to be appointed by the President. They hold office for such period as specified by the President in his order. They are eligible for reappointment. The Constitution authorizes the Parliament to determine the qualifications of members of the Commission and the manner in which they should be selected. Accordingly, the Parliament has specified the qualifications of the chairman and members of the Commission. The chairman should be a person having experience in public affairs and the 4 other members should be selected from amongst the following. 1. A judge of High Court of 1 qualified to be appointed as 1. 2. A person who has specialized knowledge of finance and accounts of the government. 3. A person who has wide experience in financial matters and in administration. 4. A person who has special knowledge of economics. 2. Question 1. The Commission submits its report to the President. He lays it before both the Houses of Parliament along with an explanatory memorandum as to the action taken on its recommendations. 4. The Finance Commission is required to make recommendations to the President of India on the following matters. 1. The distribution of the net proceeds of taxes to be shared between the centre and the states, and the allocation between the states of the respective shares of such proceeds. 2. The principles that should govern the grants in aid to the states by the centre, i.e., out of the Consolidated Fund of India. 3. The measures needed to augment the Consolidated Fund of a state to supplement the resources of the panchayats and the municipalities in the state on the basis of the recommendations made by the State Finance Commission. 4. Any other matter referred to it by the President in the interests of sound finance. 3. Question 2. Q. The primary function of the Finance Commission in India is to 2000. A. Distribution of revenue between the centre and the states. B. Prepare the annual budget. C. Advise the President on financial matters. D. Allocate funds to various ministries of the Union and state governments. Answer C. Question 3. Q. Which one of the following authorities recommends the principles governing the grants in aid of the revenues to the states out of the Consolidated Fund of India? 2002. A. Finance Commission. B. Interstate Council. C. Union Ministry of Finance. D. Public Accounts Committee. Answer A. Question 4. Q. Consider the following statements. The function S of the Finance Commission is A. 1. To allow the withdrawal of the money out of the Consolidated Fund of India. 2. To allocate between the states and center the shares of proceeds of taxes. 3. To consider applications for grants in aid from states. 4. To supervise and report on whether the union and state governments are levying taxes in accordance with the budgetary provisions. Which of the statement S is are correct? 2003. A. Only 1. B. Only 2 and 3. C. Only 3 and 4. D. Only 1, 2 and 4. Answer B. Question 5. Q. According to the National Human Rights Commission Act, 1993, who amongst the following can be its chairman? 2004. A. Any serving judge of the Supreme Court. B. Any serving judge of the High Court. C. Only a retired Chief Justice of India. D. Only a retired Chief Justice of the High Court. Answer C. Question 5. The National Human Rights Commission is a statutory and not a constitutional body. It was established in 1993 under a legislation enacted by the Parliament, namely, the Protection of Human Rights Act, 1993. This act was amended in 2006. 1. The Commission is the watchdog of human rights in the country, that is, the rights relating to life, liberty, equality and dignity of the individual guaranteed by the Constitution or embodied in the international covenants and enforceable by courts in India. The specific objectives of the establishment of the Commission are to strengthen the institutional arrangements through which human rights issues could be addressed in their entirety in a more focused manner. To look into allegations of excesses, independently of the government, in a manner that would underline the government's commitment to protect human rights and to complement and strengthen the efforts that have already been made in this direction. 2. The Commission is a multi-member body consisting of a chairman and 4 members. The chairman should be a retired Chief Justice of India, and members should be serving or retired judges of the Supreme Court, a serving or retired Chief Justice of a High Court and 2 persons having knowledge or practical experience with respect to human rights. In addition to these full-time members, the Commission also has 4 ex-officio members, the Chairman of the National Commission for Minorities, the National Commission for SCs, the National Commission for STs and the National Commission for Women. 3. Question 5. The Chairman and members are appointed by the President on the recommendations of a 6-member committee consisting of the Prime Minister as its head, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, the Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, leaders of the opposition in both the Houses of Parliament and the Central Home Minister. Further, a sitting judge of the Supreme Court or a sitting Chief Justice of a High Court can be appointed only after consultation with the Chief Justice of India. The Chairman and members hold office for a term of 5 years or until they attain the age of 70 years, whichever is earlier. After their tenure, the Chairman and members are not eligible for further employment under the central or a state government. 4. The salaries, allowances and other conditions of service of the Chairman or a member are determined by the central government. But they cannot be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. 5. Question 6. Q. Consider the following statements regarding the National Human Rights Commission of India, 1999. 1. Its chairman must be a retired Chief Justice of India. 2. It has formations in each state as State Human Rights Commission. 3. Its powers are only recommendatory in nature. 4. It is mandatory to appoint a woman as a member of the Commission. Which of the above statements are correct? A. 1, 2, 3 and 4. B. 2 and 4. C. 2 and 3. D. 1 and 3. Answer D. Thank you and happy learning.